upon this land, we are newcomers. Another race of people existed here at least 5,000 years before the first Europeans arrived. There is archaeological proof that these early Americans, for they are the original settlers, have been here for 8, 10, even 12,000 years. There are two things at work here. Of course, the native people themselves and archaeology, or the study of an historic or prehistoric culture by analyzing what they left behind. To know the ancients, we must find out about them. Who are they? How did they go about living their lives? And secondly, how do we know? Archaeology. The Cherokee Nation before Sequoia had no written word. Living in a natural environment, their wood materials were subject to decay. Collecting information about these people is difficult. What remains instead is tradition, myths, and legends, and what we presume they, as human beings, thought about. For they are human. I'm Bill Landry, and on Heartland tonight, we're discovering the Native Americans. Tonight, we'll meet Mr. Hayes Lossy, the blowgun maker. Near Monterey, Tennessee, we'll uncover the mystery of the mysterious Standing Stone. Take a look back to the dawn of Tennessee archaeology, and 5,000 years ago, we'll imagine life and death. His name is Walker Calhoun. Around Cherokee, North Carolina, his reputation speaks volumes. He's the highly respected, celebrated keeper of the dances, who shares his knowledge freely with those who care to listen and get up and dance. They hover on the edge of Cherokee memory, the old dances. Many are gone. One of the few who remember dances like the Eagle Dance is Walker Calhoun. He's the guardian of original Cherokee dance.
There's 7 feathers on this thing. That represent the 7 clans of Cherokee.
Walker learned about the dances from his uncle Will West Long, and since they're the original dances from centuries ago, Walker feels obliged to hand them down.
A lot of people don't know this, what our ancestors done. Guess that's one reason. These kids, without training, they didn't know a thing about this tradition. They're always modern things. That's all they knew. Till I brought this. Hey, yo, hey,
He calls the dancers to their places, as dance leaders have done since Cherokee rituals began. Young people all, who now carry on the tradition. The bear dance mimics the honored bear. The more ferocious, the more fun it is. By tradition, the dancers circle opposite to the sun's path.
Before white man come to the country, Indians didn't have notes like do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So they made these signs to carry tunes.
The dance is a story about life. Here it tells of a peaceful meeting of tribes. That Walker Calhoun's own children barely know these dances fires his urge to pass along his knowledge. With his efforts, the memory of original Cherokee dance will burn on. A few years ago, Mr. Calhoun was invited to Washington to receive the prestigious National Heritage Medal. He's a recognized national treasure. A real blowgun maker and more Native American mysteries and the search for answers when we come back. In spite of the fact that Mr. Lossy doesn't speak real good English, his talents are renowned. A full-blooded Cherokee, Mr. Hayes Lossy makes blowguns. He speaks in his native language mostly, thank you, Cherokee. He trains his eye on an imaginary target to check the straightness of the river cane. With patience and a sharp eye, Hayes Lossy builds blowguns as well as he did when he and other Cherokees still depended on them for hunting small game. Hayes Lossy grew up in the Big Cove area near Cherokee, North Carolina, a place that was virtually isolated until recent times. At 84, Hayes uses the same method and most of the materials to make the blowguns that his ancestors developed so long ago.
Hayes has the knowledge of what to do and how to do it better than anybody else, and he's practiced it for 35 years.
Tom Underwood, who grew up among the Cherokee, gives us insight into Hayes' craftsmanship.
He grew up with it when he was a boy. He grew up with the tradition of hunting with a blowgun. He's proud of making his blowguns, and he takes a great deal of pain to do it right.
I'm going to show you now.
Once the cane is cooled, Hayes gradually shaves the inside to a slick finish, so a dart can glide through easily.
This share, when I drill inside, I'll tell you, I fix my shave. I got 2 or 3 different kinds like that, big or small, middleweight, like that.
The blowgun wasn't a toy or weapon of war. It was a basic necessity in daily life, a hunting tool, and its quality could mean the difference between vegetable soup and meat on the table.
I used to hunt with an old man who could kill a squirrel, a gray squirrel, in the top of a pretty high tree, which meant 100 feet up in the tree.
A blowgun is only as good as the dart it fires. It's here that Hayes takes the greatest care.
Well, the thistle has to be gathered. It's purple thistle.
This way. Seeds right here. A dampy place somewhere, you lay that seed, they come up summertime.
Then he takes the dried thistle and puts it on the shaft, which is usually about 12 or 14 inches long, a hand-whittled locust shaft.
Like an expert at tying flies, Hayes attaches the silky thistledown and finishes it off to make a dart that can be propelled with little effort.
Square lay on this way, you end it right here. When you blow, you hit in the middle.
You can tell the difference between a beginner and an expert by the sound you don't hear. Today, blowgun demonstrations mostly take the place of any actual hunting. But that doesn't change the way Hayes Lossy makes them. He still gathers his materials from what nature readily provides and builds a blowgun as if survival depended on it. Hayes talked of a time when the blowgun was necessary to hunt food when he was a boy. Animals, even birds, were targets of his weapon. Soup was all they had to eat, he said. I asked him what kind of soup he had. He answered in broken English, "What kind of bird you got?" We'll miss Hayes. He's of a time when the American schools kept the Cherokee children from speaking their native language. English was required, and those caught speaking Cherokee were punished. Times have changed. Today there's great pride in speaking the native language. Cherokee is even taught in kindergarten now. Now imagine a place held so important as to stop wars, like a synagogue or a monument. To the ancient Americans, a mountain or a waterfall, a natural wonder, could hold great spiritual significance, power. More importantly, it was recognized by all. Such a place is Standing Stone.
This parade in Monterey, Tennessee is as American as they come. American in the truest sense of the word. The Shawnee, Choctaw, and Apache have journeyed here. So have the Iroquois and Oklahoma Cherokee. Others are here too, from less native stock, but Americans just the same. On this day, bloodlines are overshadowed by the object that has drawn these diverse people to this place. They have gathered in reverence for the stone, the lone surviving fragment of the once great, still mysterious, Standing Stone of the Upper Cumberlands. It is a mystery shrouded in antiquity. The Cherokees said that it was here before their fathers' fathers set foot in this land. Pioneers wrote about of a massive stone monolith located on the western rim of the Cumberland Plateau in the form of a large wolf in a sitting position facing west. The stone was a place of peace where warring tribes gathered together in brotherhood. Later, the great stone was a boundary marker for treaties. Early maps show the entire region around it was called simply Standing Stone.
It's easy to see how a monolith can be formed up here on the Cumberland Plateau when you consider this. That natural bridge there is sandstone. It's abundant up here.
Of all the mighty rocks of the plateau, the wolf stone stood out. Fashioned by the hand of man or of God, no one knows, though the forelegs were indeed carved. The original site of the monolith was on the old Walton Road, the I-40 of its day. Local historian Dr. Opp Walker is our guide.
If you can imagine it with the buffalo trail, the deer trails coming this way, and later on, of course, the Indian trails, you can sort of get a picture of what they must have seen. Primordial forest, small trail, huge sphinx-like creature standing approximately 12 feet high made out of sandstone.
To the Indians, the great stone wolf was sacred.
Keep in mind that the wolf was their protector, sort of like the angel is to you and me.
But did the stone hold still deeper meaning?
They believe as they take the transition through death into the upper world, which you and I would term heaven, the place of the Great Spirit, that upon arrival there, they're greeted by a great wolf.
Protector or guide, no one knows for sure, or for how long it graced this land. Yet its demise was certain and quick. Chipped away by souvenir hunters until only a portion remained, the railroad took care of the rest. What was left was mounted atop this monument in 1895, a few miles from the original site. But the power of the stone to bring people together has not diminished.
It is not just any rock. It's not just any rock at all. It has meaning to it. It's a feeling, when we come here for a feeling of peace and goodwill.
A mysterious force guides some here, like the Cherokee chief who was told the stone was in the state park 20 miles away.
His spirit told him, and keep in mind he'd never been here before, his spirit told him, no, it's not toward Livingston, it's toward Monterey. So he came up there, and he told me this with his own mouth, that his spirit led him to the original site, which is in itself kind of spooky.
For those brought together here today, the stone still guides and protects. The Standing Stone inspires peace and harmony and erases human boundaries. That may be its greatest power.
A place that inspires peace and harmony is bound to draw a crowd. It would be nice if we had more and could save the ones we have. How we've come to know what we do about the ancients when Heartland Tonight returns. Many of the very best archaeologists today got their start in East Tennessee. Because of TVA, the construction of the dams, and the foresight of some, a monumental archaeological task was undertaken here. It was a race to save what remained of an ancient civilization.
Long before white settlers came, long before the Cherokee, the Tennessee Valley was home to an ancient people. Their lives left an unwritten history in the earth. Thousands of years later, the suffering of another culture brought that hidden history to light. Out of the Great Depression, the Tennessee Valley Authority was born.
Beginning in 1933 with the Tennessee Valley Authority's dam constructions and the use of Civil Works Administration and Works Progress Administration labor, you launched an archaeological program of such magnitude involving so many people. Truly, archaeology came of age here in the 30s and early 40s.
The bluffs to our back had a cave in it. It was occupied prehistorically, and it was one of the 23 sites they discovered.
Norris was the first TVA archaeology project. The goal was to salvage as much of the past as quickly as possible before it was lost forever.
By March and April of '34, there were over 1,000 people working on archaeology on TVA projects.
Many of them were coal miners who were unemployed. These men knew how to dig.
They were looking for large villages, they were looking for mounds, and they were looking for habitation areas and caves.
Tom Lewis led the Tennessee digs. In just 6 months, he used his dirt-moving army ingeniously to employ new techniques. Instead of traditional trenches, they excavated horizontally in order to open areas. Lewis's own film of Norris shows hard-packed clay foundations and patterns of post holes used to construct large buildings. These images are of a people that hunted, made art, lived and died along our rivers thousands of years ago. In 1938, Madeline Nieberg took on the mammoth task of organizing the materials. Most are still housed at the University of Tennessee.
Oh, hundreds of boxes, corrugated boxes, full of skeletons and artifacts and broken pottery. We knew that we couldn't possibly do justice to all of the information, and so that was one of our major objectives, is to make it possible for people in the future to utilize this information.
But the momentum of the work ended as quickly as it had begun with the coming of World War II.
Just no time at all, the whole thing folded up. The supervisors were drafted, some of them, and in no time at all, they closed down the WPA.
Yet the drama continues today. Who owns the relics of the past is the unresolved question facing archaeology.
It's our access to the past.
Prehistoric skeletal remains are clues to genetic relationships, but they are also someone's unburied ancestors. Yet what we know about these people would have remained a mystery forever if not for early Tennessee Valley archaeology.
What was a burial like 5,000 years ago, and why do we care? When we come back. It is sacrilegious in most cultures to disturb the dead. Yet those who wouldn't think of unearthing the dead in a cemetery continue to disturb ancient burials for personal gain. Imagine what that ancient burial was like and the human beings affected.
"5,000 years ago, a woman died. She was buried near a river in the Tennessee Valley. There were other members of her band buried here because it was easier to dig a grave with a stick in soft soil near water. She had lived 35 years, 10 years longer than the average of her race. For nearly a year, one of her teeth had abscessed, and the resulting infection had spread. She died of a fever the night before. She was 4 feet 9 inches tall, and because she could not eat comfortably in her last days, she weighed only 65 pounds. The burial party was her husband, her son, and his wife. Her son, the only child of 5 to live past 4 years, carried her body. It was wrapped in the dog hair blanket she had made during the first year of her marriage, on which she bore her children, and finally on which she had died. The ceremony of her death was largely a personal one. She had not been a woman of great stature in her band, although she was respected as a healer. They placed with her body the most cherished objects of her life: a conch shell she used to administer medicine, a wooden dipper she made as a child, and her necklace, the recognized symbol of her spirituality. Her body was sprinkled with ochre, an iron oxide. With it she had painted pottery, decorated faces, and now would go to the next world protected by it. The woman's death was not a watershed event in history. Members of her tribe would come to the banks of this river for hundreds of years. Then they too would disappear. But for the moment, it is the grief of her small family that reaches through the millennium to us. 5,000 years after she dies, a man will stick a steel probe into her grave, strike her breastbone and break it, dig up her remains and take her necklace to sell. Jill Elmendorf is an archaeologist with the Tennessee Valley Authority. She sees the results of such grave robbing in her work.
So I think a lot of people who do it do not think of themselves as grave robbers. They're curious and they want to own things that are beautiful from the past. They want to own a piece of the past. And they don't stop to think that they're actually disturbing graves. Just as if someone were to go to a cemetery, marked cemetery, and dig things up. Many people wouldn't do that, but they would dig here.
What's the difference in an archaeologist digging something up and somebody else coming and robbing a grave for a treasure?
What's important to archaeologists is not the artifact, it's the context that they're found in. There are so few sites left that archaeologists who make a profession, of course, of digging things up, try not to dig burials or dig sites unless they are endangered. So many people are fascinated by prehistory, and that's one of the ways that people get involved in it, by walking along and seeing something like an arrowhead and picking it up. And I don't think anybody can just look at an arrowhead and not pick it up. But to actually sit down to dig graves, to look for things, particularly if you're looking for things to sell them, is just a shame.
Our fascination with the ancients is no more or less than a full respect for those who came before. Through our understanding of them, we continue to find out who we are. We do not idolize them, just learn from them. See you next week.